Now, Tucker Carlson went after Pete Buttigieg. Tucker Carlson went after Pete Buttigieg and pointed out his hypocrisy for lying about being gay all of the years that he kept it in the closet.
Thank goodness for the Senate, because gay folks are under attack. Did you see that the Senate passed the landmark marriage equality bill?
Yes, that is very exciting. And they 61 votes, which is pretty exciting. So I think that's awesome.
You know, there are some people who are upset about the fact that there are still religious exemptions that Republicans specifically fought for, saying that if my religion, if I'm that baker and I'm that staunch heterosexual baker and I'm only going to make heterosexual cakes, I'm allowed to do that. I understand there are issues with that. I am of the mindset that we can move progressively. Let's move the goalpost a little bit. This is a very significant move forward, and it doesn't do everything, but we're certainly headed in the right direction. And really, at the end of the day, with 330 million people in this country who all want something different, I'm satisfied with that for now.
Yeah, Gary, I think you're right. I think that oftentimes we don't have enough patience, and sometimes you got to have a little bit of patience, because we always say we have to meet people where they are. And if we can just get them halfway there and have a starting point, we can keep moving from there. But we can't expect everybody to move at the same pace, because if we did, then we wouldn't be America. So I just think that sometimes we just got to have a little patience. And Mary, like I always say, you got to buy a little time.
We know that there is that it's a hot button for people. Otherwise, folks like Tucker Carlson wouldn't still be pushing it. Am I right, Gary?
Tucker Carlson gives me a migraine. And it's not just that shrill voice and his little trick of, I'm just asking. That's what he does. And that has infected MAGA thinkers that I know, is they'll put an argument forward that is so sickening, so stomach churning. And when they say, I'm just asking, they're basically saying, you've got to defend your position now from way over here and get back to sensible thinking. And that is what Tucker Carlson does. Now, Tucker Carlson went after Pete Buttigieg. Tucker Carlson went after Pete Buttigieg and pointed out his hypocrisy for lying about being gay all of the years that he kept it in the closet. He can't understand why a gay person in this country would lie about their sexual preference. In the year 2022, aren't all gay people acceptable? Aren't we all walking hand in hand? Why don't you ask the people who were just shot to death in Club Q in Colorado less than a month ago? And this asswipe wants to present Pete Buttigieg as a hypocrite for not opening up about his sexuality. I personally, and my history is different from Pete, but in some ways it's very similar. I was raised in a Catholic school from kindergarten to high school, and I can't tell you how many times the teacher pointed out to us that homosexuality was a sin against God. I knew at 13 that I was gay, and I had to sit there and listen to it. You had AIDS, you had fear of God, you had rejection of family, rejection of friends, you don't have federal benefits, the government looks down on you, and Tucker Carlson can't figure it out. Tucker Carlson. Sorry, I'll cut that part out.
Okay, good. Now you can keep that. Here's what I would say. You were right, and I watched that clip, and I watched him say exactly what you said. I'm just asking. And I think what really gets me is that the folks that he's talking to, they don't have a clue. So all they have is what he says. Because I think that when you look behind any of the comments that many of these MAGA people make, if you were to ask them one question more, if you would just ask them why, most of them can't even articulate why they believe what they believe. It's just so because it's so. So when it comes to critical thinking, that's what he does. He taps into people who have little critical thinking, and all they're left with is what he says, and there's nothing else there. And so for some of them, I believe that there is opportunity for them to think about things differently. But for many of them, unfortunately, I am just putting my hands up and saying, let's find somebody else.
I appreciated that when Chasten spoke up about it, he rightfully said when Pete served, it was under don't ask, don't tell. That's, I mean, that it was there for a long time. I have a very good friend who served, his entire 20 years under don't ask, don't tell. Now, how a person manages to perform well while hiding a huge part of who they are, that's a subject for another day. I mean, that's got to be really, really challenging. I would think it would be very challenging. But of course he didn't say anything. Of course, also he was raised in the Midwest in Indiana.
Call from Johnson, Tina.
I'll just take it. Let's see what they have to say
Take
about
the
it.
call. This is going to be great.
Hello, Benel. Would you think this is an additional life insurance?
I called to check my zip code.
All right.
But Chasten brought up a really good point too when he said that Tucker is the vocal minority. He has a loud megaphone, but he's in the minority. And the only reason that he spews all of this hate, it's clickbait. It is, it's money, it's dollars, right? So instead of focusing on making people's lives better, he focuses on hate.
There's people out there who are willing to do far more and risk far more than personally I would, and certainly more than Tucker Carlson ever would. I don't believe that man would stand behind anything he says on television if somebody confronted him someplace in public.
I agree. It's just very sad that this is what we've come to. And I think it's very sad about Fox News in the first place and Tucker Carlson, just because he is everything that you don't want to be. Anti-Semitic, he's homophobic, he is racist, he is all of the things that make our country horrible for many people. And I just think it's sad that people promote him on TV. And the only thing that could happen is if people would finally say, especially advertisers, would finally say enough is enough and really get rid of Fox News, really. And Tucker Carlson and a whole bunch of others would be great.